Hi, ladies. We're here today. We are here with the Women in Sales podcast, and we have a really cool lady here to talk to you about her experience in sales and the things she cares about coming from a sole contributor and then working her way up to a manager role. So I just want to introduce Tovah. So Tovah, do you want to just go over, who you are and a little bit about yourself and explain where you work?
For sure. So my name's Tovah. I work in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Right now I work for a company called Just Eat, which is an online ordering platform. And basically we were, really the pioneers in the industry in Canada, and we've done really well. So I manage a team here.
Cool. Okay. So how did you let's start with just the beginning stages. So coming out of college and then moving your way up to that role. It would be helpful to go through that.
So I was thinking about it on my drive in today about coming out of college and who I was then and who I am today. Two very, very different people. I mean, when I came out of college, my thoughts were, okay, I need to get into a very established big box company that isn't going anywhere anytime soon and I can rely on. And I need to get into a very reliable position, where I'll have job security. And those were the things that I was looking for straight out of college.
And when did you graduate? What year?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I think we're the same age though.
Okay, I'm 33. How old are you?
Yeah, same.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's really
awesome. Do you remember when you graduated?
2006. The only reason I know this is because people ask me with these podcasts, and I'm curious about when people graduate just because I think it's interesting because everyone's story, say you graduated 2 years ago compared to 20 years ago compared to 10, it's just different stories. So it's good to understand where you're at.
Yeah, so I took a marketing program here in Toronto. So I moved from a smaller city to the big city, to Toronto.
Okay.
So huge change for me to adjust from that, not knowing anyone and doing all of that stuff. So really out of college, I mean, I just wanted to stay in the city. That was my priority, right? So the thing is that I got caught up in this position at a very large bank in Canada.
Interesting.
I was doing retention straight out of college. So through college, I was a bank teller and I had got basically a promotion, which was great. But I felt very stuck. And then at year 5, I just remember, kind of walking with one of my really close friends. We actually went to college together, and he was like, "You seem so unhappy." And I was like, I am unhappy, I don't want to go to work every day. It's not fun. It's not challenging. There was none of that.
And what were you doing at that time? You were working as a teller, or what were you doing?
No, then I was working in one of the head offices, in the financial district. I was doing retention for large insurance policies.
Okay.
So cool position, but probably only cool for a couple years out of college, whereas I stayed there for 5 years and then just found I didn't feel challenged. I didn't want to go to work in the morning, right? So he said, Tove, you would be so good in sales. You're super outgoing, great personality. You should do it. I was super hesitant. And this is what I want to talk about is I feel that there is a really negative connotation around sales.
Yeah.
And that's really yes, I would love way more women in business, way more women in sales, but for anyone. So I took an interview with a really great agency here in Toronto called Sales Talent Agency. Okay. And they place a lot of sales representatives, from sales reps to execs, anywhere in different businesses. So I got a position as an individual contributor. And right away, it was a change. That literally changed my life.
I have since then. So cool.
Yeah. Since then, honestly, Allie, I've never woke up in the morning and been oh, I do not want to go to work. I genuinely, in every company, I've worked for many different companies. In every company, I genuinely want to go to work. And I think it has a lot to do with, your own personal goals. The fact that if I work harder, I will make more money.
Right.
How cool is that?
completely agree. And at some point, so it's funny that you talked about like, so for the first, I don't even remember now, I think 4 years out of college, like I was with the same company and I was in private wealth management, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I just remember feeling very like, why do I have to wait so long to like get to the next stage of my career? Because it feels like that in corporate America when you come from college, like everyone's just always like, you're so young, and you're like, what the hell? Like I'm young, but like I'm still doing a good job, like promote me. And it's like, well, that's not how it works here. You need to wait like, a few years and then you can go to the next level. And it's like, no, I don't want to do that. So like I kind of felt the same way coming out of college, and that's why I think it's important to expose more. Okay, so obviously more people, that's fine. But I'm a woman, you're a woman, so I care about women. So when I talk about
women as well.
And I think it's really cool. You said like now you can make your own money and you make, you have goals that you want to hit, and that I think is really nice, because like with other jobs outside of sales, like you don't have the luxury of being like, I can make, X amount of money doing my job. Like, like most people, you just have a salary and that's that. And like, that's all there is. So I think it's really important for women to understand, like sometimes that early in your life, you don't really understand money too well. So like, you don't realize how much it will impact your life in the next 10 years, 20, like, so I think it's important for us to expose that to women. So I'm really appreciative of that. And you telling about like how you get to make your own money and make your own way. So when you so you went to that sales recruitment agency, they placed, you got an interview, you got the job, and then what happened from there?
So I did really well in that position. I mean, it was a very structured position. At first, we were really a startup vibe. We worked under the umbrella of Rogers, which is a large telecommunications company here. But the cool thing about this was that it was in what is called Rogers Ventures, where they invest in various startups that they see potential in. So this was essentially a startup in Toronto, a product that they moved from the US, and I was selling search engine optimization, to small, medium-sized businesses. I recall, I think one of my first conversations was with a law office, and it was like completely intimidating sitting in front of, on the phone with 8 partners and them just pounding me with questions. And I think the best advice that I could give to another salesperson is, as soon as you know your product really well, and I had a very, intricate product. It wasn't easy, but really understanding that, then it suddenly changes. You speak with conviction. You know what you're talking about. You can answer any question, even if it is speaking to, 8 intimidating lawyers. So
that's a great point. I think a lot of people, I think they don't understand that, like with sales, knowing your product really well and like becoming a master at that is actually like a big part of the job, because you can't really be that great at sales if you don't understand your product really well. So I think that should be something that, like, when you're hiring for sales, like asking people, like, do you actually enjoy the product that we sell? Like, would you like learning more about it? Like, because if you don't want to do that, then I feel like, I mean, maybe there are some people who don't fully understand their product and they're good at selling it. Maybe they have an SE doing it for them. But I feel the same way. Over the years, the way I got better and better at HubSpot is by using our product, learning every single thing I can about it, listening to our sales engineers in and out. And I think that's a great point. Like in sales, if you want to be a master and you want to be great, you really do need to know your product really well, because then you feel this like confidence in yourself that, like, I know what I'm talking about.
Right. And then with confidence comes sales. Like, I'm not, what like maybe my family members think is that I'm convincing someone to buy something that maybe they don't need or want. That's not the case. What we're doing is a full needs analysis to see, do you need this product? Will you benefit from it? Will this help you in any way? Depending on the product. I mean, I've sold many now, right? So that's really what it is. And then being able to say sometimes, like, actually, this isn't going to be a good fit for you. And that's okay. You have someone else who you can talk about your product to, right?
Yep.
So
Love it.
not getting down if it's not a good fit for them, or not getting discouraged if you've really done a great job in explaining your product and relating it to them and they still don't want it. I think that's another part of sales is like this mental toughness component where you have to bring yourself out of difficult spots. You don't have great days every single day.
No. There could be days where you're just like, man, that no one wants this, or this is not working, or whatever.
Will I ever close a deal?
Yeah. There's certain days where I'm like, maybe I'm never going to get a sale ever again. And I literally say those things and people are like, how many times have you said that? And I'm just like, I don't know, probably 1 million. But it's like, you have to like be able to take yourself from that moment of like, oh, I can't believe I lost this, to, all right, well, I'm going to go find someone who's a better fit. And, I think one of the things that people who might consider sales that aren't in sales, another good point you made is around, the aspect of helping. So I've always been this type of person who like wants to help other people regardless of what it is. Like, I stop people on the street and say hello. I'm like very like, I don't know. I just like always like, oh, do you need help with that? Like, can I help you with that? Like, I'm just like that. So I feel like if you're a person who wants to like diagnose something. So like, I think of myself as like a doctor basically of marketing, because I sell marketing software. So you're like you said, you're diagnosing their problems and their needs, and then you're matching, if you can, if it's a good fit. Yeah. So I think that's a really good point. And I think that people don't fully understand that, like, you're not just out there hustling some product for fun or for like, I don't know, to sell a bad fit.
Right.
I'm not interested in that.
Closing a deal is super fun, but closing a deal for someone who genuinely is going to benefit from your product or will really like it or is excited as well is the best feeling ever. And that's kind of what I became addicted to. And I think going back to what you're saying about, like going back to what you're saying about being a helpful person, I think once I got into sales, I was like, whoa, I'm with my people.
What did you say?
I'm with my people. We all have similar personalities. We really get each other. Whereas I was in different positions before where, you have many different personalities to deal with. And although now as a manager, I deal with, many different departments. So absolutely I deal with many different personalities. But like, I feel that people who are successful in sales have this personality that I connect with.
Me too. And I think that's why, I don't know about you, but like a lot of my friends have become friends from my sales jobs.
Absolutely.
And like,
same.
It's because you're surrounding yourself with people that are similar to yourself and you naturally like become friends. And I think it's really great. So talk about like how, I guess let's talk about the story of being an individual contributor in sales compared to a manager and like your path. Let's start with the path from like, we talked about that job that you got, the first sales job. Let's talk about from there, quickly to where you are now and how you got there, just so people understand that career path.
Well, if you look at my LinkedIn, there's a bit of jumping around.
Okay, and I'll link to that. I'm looking at what I'm looking at, just so everyone knows, if you're watching this or listening to us, I'm looking at my other screen where I have her LinkedIn up.
Yes. So under the umbrella of Rogers, they invested in various products, really random. Like there wasn't, I mean, I'm sure there was a method to why they invested in those certain products. But, from the SEO product, I then became a manager, for this kind of like a rewards points program for small, medium businesses.
Okay.
Basically any business that had foot traffic. So I got to manage my own team, and I had already kind of been doing it because in my previous role, I was a veteran, like I had been there since the beginning. We were the first, I was the first of that business. So I really, was aware of the new hires and took them under my wing and showed them, this is how you kind of do it. So I felt I was already kind of ready for management.
Okay.
So it wasn't a huge transition, but I think the number one thing, and I'll get to the other businesses that I work for. I think the number one thing was like at the end of the month, because we had monthly quotas, I didn't control what we brought in directly.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I couldn't say, okay, if I put in more time and effort and work into closing deals, that's what I'm going to close at the end of the month. Instead, it was like, I have to adjust to all of these different personalities. I have to be able to teach them, you know, how to close a deal and how not to get down at the end of, you know, a deal that didn't close. Like that's super different from being your own boss kind of thing.
Control is the thing, I think.
So I think that was the biggest adjustment from going to being an individual contributor to suddenly having a team under you. And I think so many top performers who go into sales management roles, sometimes it's not for them. They're like, whoa, I want to go back to, you know, controlling my own destiny kind of thing. And this is super hard because it is.
It's a great point.
There was that. But I think the payoff for me is way more. It goes back to helping others. It's really satisfying, just like closing a deal. It's really satisfying to see someone else, because of your motivation, because of your teachings, reach a goal.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think, so I managed BDRs like back in the day, a while ago when we first started our BDR program. I was like our first BDR manager. So I completely agree. I actually was in that role for like 8 months or something. And honestly, like I loved the fact of teaching people and like helping those reps, those BDRs become sales reps and whatever. Like I loved that. I think that the whole stigma behind management is like, it's actually not what people think it is. It's more like teaching and helping all day and like managing people. It's not, you're not necessarily selling all the time anymore. And that can be really frustrating. So I remember I was like, I was like, I just want to do it myself. Like, do you know what I mean? Because you know how to do it. You know how to do it maybe better than those people, but that's not being a good manager. Being a good manager is like helping them to become better. And so I actually took myself out of that role, like you said, that some people do, because I wanted to like do it myself. So I think you have to be ready. You have to be ready to take that back seat and not be able to control every single little thing about a deal, because it's not yours anymore. It's theirs. And then, you know what I mean? So I think that's a great point.
And I think I've seen so many leaders who, you know, just want their sales reps or their team to be and to sell exactly the way that they did. But that's not necessarily always the best thing. I deal with so many different people who learn differently, who, you know, if I tell them to say something that I say, it may come across completely different. Sure. You know, there's tone and there's all of those things to take into account. So I think it's really just teaching your sales representatives or your BDRs or SDRs, you know, really the basics of selling, teaching them the product in and out to be able to understand that, and then really giving them a good understanding of what's their objective, what's their end goal, and then giving them tips along the way. I'm very lucky here. I have a great team. You know, they have the soft skills already, so I'm not teaching them about tone and pace and things like that. You know, it's more just supporting them. And that's very, very different from being an individual contributor. You know, thinking of process changes that we could do to improve their day-to-day life. That's something that I do. You know, reporting for them, making sure that they have all of the reports to be the most successful. So it's just very different. It's different, and it's been a learning experience. So
I think it's great to talk about like what management really is, because a lot of people, even like sales reps, you don't really understand what a manager does until you're one. So I think it's so cool that you're like actually exposing that, because you don't really know. Like sometimes you're like, well, what does my manager even do?
Yes. Yeah. And it's frustrating. And I remember being in their position thinking, why don't you train me more? Why don't you do more? Like, yeah, I mean, that's definitely part of my job. Absolutely. You have to want it. You have to want to get better. You have to, you know, want to improve your skills. But that's only one piece of my position, right? There's so much more. And having to report our day-to-day and report how we're doing to, you know, not only my country manager here, but also, you know, then we report those numbers to the UK. Like,
sure.
I don't know. I really love management, but it is a very different beast than individually.
I'm glad you talk about that though, because I think that a lot of the women listening to this, you know, they wonder like when is the right time to get into management? Like when do you take that next step? And like how do you know if like you should do that? I don't know if you have any tips or suggestions on that, but I know people always like to hear about like how someone moved into management or you know what's different.
When I first got into sales, that wasn't a focus. That wasn't even, you know, something that I wanted. But as I went along, I saw myself kind of mentoring these other new hires, and I just knew the job so well that, you know, I started to kind of train them and help them. And then I thought, okay, this is something that I could do. And I got very interested in, you know, kind of analyzing different sales processes and figuring out better ways that you could be more efficient. Because when I first got into sales, I just decided I was going to be the hardest working person on the team and do 100 dials every day. And that was going to be my mantra. But that's not for everyone. Let's figure out a way to be more efficient. Let's figure out a way to, you know, maximize your time, right? So that you don't have to make 100 dials every day. So kind of figuring that out eventually was something that I wanted to do. And that kind of got me into management.
That's so cool. How many managers do you guys have? How many managers do you
we have 3. We have 3, but I'm the one who manages the inside team. So the other the two guys, they manage our outside teams all across Canada. And my team is actually a mix of account managers who deal with our existing real estate. Then I have guys who sell top placement on our actual app. So existing restaurants who want to be at the very top.
Explain what your company does, actually.
So we're an online ordering app. I hate to bring up the competitor, but similar to Uber Eats.
Okay. I don't even use that yet, but.
Oh, wow. Okay. So we're not in the US. We're all across the UK. Just Eat started in Denmark and they just killed it there. Cool. And so they started to kind of venture out into different countries. And when we came to Canada, I mean, I wasn't here, but when the company came to Canada, we were a pioneer in this industry. No one else was doing online ordering. No one else was doing this. And now so many companies have come in and really made us work harder because we have competition now and they have better technology, right? So that just makes us work even harder to say, all right, this is what we do have. I mean, we have very loyal customers. We have people who go to our site to order and they want a choice of different restaurants. So, so going back to my team, and then I have inside sales reps as well. So account managers, guys who sell top placement, and then inside sales representatives who sell our product to restaurants. Cool.
And how many people do you manage?
10.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And they're also all doing kind of different things, which is, I would assume that's something interesting and fun because you get to learn, you know, other roles and learn other things.
For sure. Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, but one that I want to take on because I had been an inside sales manager for so long. So now I'm dealing with account managers who have a very different job. You know, they need to make sure that our existing customers are happy. We don't want to lose them.
Right.
We want to keep them happy and, you know, but also maximize their success. So that's a very different position than just acquisition, right?
That's cool that you get to do both. That's really neat. I think that's really cool.
And I'm really liking it. It's for sure different from just focusing on how many meetings did you run, how many did you set today, how many did you close kind of thing, and coaching to closing and things like that. And I mean,
the only churn is super important to a company's success in general, especially SaaS.
Yeah.
So I respect that. And I think that it's really important to have both skills, being able to upsell, cross-sell, as well as sell net new. We actually do both in sales at HubSpot. So we sell, net new and existing customers. So it's a great thing to be able to explore and learn both. That's really neat.
So do you manage your own book of business as well as acquiring new business?
I don't have to. So we have like an account manager or a customer success manager who works with those existing customers, like service wise. Like I don't service them, but I would sell them more product.
Yeah.
Or advise them like if they should be using something else, or learn more about like maybe there's, places that they could use an add-on to our software or something like that. So I have to think about both of those things, which is cool because for so many years, I've been at HubSpot for 7 years. I don't know if people know that, but for so many years, like probably 5 years, we only did net new. So for like 2 years now, I think I've been doing the other stuff. So like upsell, cross-sell, that type of thing.
So
and
I guess
that's
it's good because you can kind of mix it up now.
Yeah, you
it's
can.
Not
yeah.
like you've been doing the same position for 7 years.
Yep, I totally agree. And it's really interesting that, now you have like before you just have one bucket to pull from. You have the net new sales, right? So now I can say you're like kind of, I don't know how I'm doing this month on this one. You can reach into the existing customers and try to pull from there, which is, I don't know, it's really cool. So I think that's really
great.
Yeah. So let's talk. Okay, so let's switch the conversation to like the women stuff. What do you? I always want it to be like the person that I'm talking to, like kind of their story about what they care about women in sales, because everyone typically has something that they're passionate about or want to discuss. So, I don't want to put words in your mouth. So why don't you just tell us like what you think and what you care about?
I think just realizing that, look, we are different from a man. We have different skill sets. And I don't think there's anything wrong with admitting that. But we can all do the job at the end of the day. So I think that's super important. And also I think for all my females out there who maybe are in sales or thinking about getting into sales, you can do it and don't be intimidated. Don't be intimidated by the fact that you're sitting in a room with only men. Like that doesn't matter. And you will constantly be faced with, adversity, I think, and people trying to hold you back. I mean, maybe that's a female thing. Maybe that's just a woman, a human in business thing, but I've seen it for sure. So don't get discouraged. You can do it just as a man can, and keep going. With sales, it's so great. You create your own destiny. You work hard, and the results come from that. So I think that's very important to know. I think moving up the ladder, I was constantly faced with, I was always up against a male, for a management position. That seems to always happen. I think it's just the way that you set yourself apart and talk about your experiences and your learnings and what you can bring to the table. It is very important. And then, surrounding yourself with other females who are in sales, I've found has been so crucial to my success, because I can, complain to them. I can talk to them about the challenges that they face, and they're usually pretty similar.
Totally.
And just feeling that you can have a voice. Again, I sit in a room of men typically.
Totally.
My boss is a male. The other two managers are male. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just, not being intimidated by that, I think, is very important. And just knowing that you can do it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, thinking back, like even, when you start in a job, like half the time you're like, wow, you look around. I'm in my home office right now, but like you look around, you're like, wow, there's like so many men here.
Yes, exactly.
So I think you have to be okay with that, but also like be aware that just because there are so many men, it's only because of the way the world kind of worked before we graduated. Like, you know, the only way we're going to get more women into these roles is by exposing more women to what sales is. And that's why I'm so passionate about this podcast and about our group, Women in Sales, because if we don't speak up, like the women who are in sales, if we don't talk about it, then how are younger women supposed to even know that that's like an option? There's no way.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like the stigma of this all just has to change. And it starts with the people like us feeling comfortable and confident in talking about what we do, because people don't know. And if we don't do that, then there'll just always be more men. And I personally, wouldn't it be lovely if you had a woman coworker that was a manager too?
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's important. And I think I'm really happy that, you know, you're talking about your role and what you do, because we need to expose more women to the profession of sales. And that's why we're doing what we're doing.
And I agree. And I love that you are doing this. I've been saying for years, I'm going to, you know, come up with a women in sales group where we all talk about our challenges and whatnot. But, you know, it's something that you get into your role, you're busy, life takes over and you don't do it. But I have my network of women who bring me up and who I can complain to, who are in sales. And like you said, you know, along the way, I've made so many great friends in this industry because we share the same passions, we share the same views on a lot of things, and we're hustlers. We want to be the best that we can be. So I think that kind of brings us all together. It's very important, and something that I would, you know, recommend to someone who's new into sales is get your mentor, get someone who can bring you up, get someone who can motivate you, because I always had that.
Yeah. So so let's chat a little bit about that. Like, who's your mentor, and like, how did you go about that process? Everyone always wants to know about mentorship and how you get a mentor and all of that. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
I think I've had different ones along the way. I don't have one specific person, but you know, I've had different people in my different businesses who I'm like, okay, I can really learn from them. They know something that I don't. You know,
really good point. Like, always find that person.
For sure. And whether it be a female or a male. And I think just talking about, you know, working from that large company to working from startups, what's really great is that your opinion is always heard in a startup, that it's very collaborative. And even though here at Just Eat, you know, we're not a startup, but we have that feel where I could go to our marketing team and make a recommendation, and even if they don't take my recommendation, my point is always being heard, and it's very collaborative. So I think that in the startup world is so, so cool. I wish that I had one, got into sales earlier, but two, got into the startup world.
I agree.
I think you were interviewing a girl who said that she, you know, in her early 20s got into the startup world.
Yep.
And I wish.
I think it's so cool.
What you learn from that is literally all aspects of the business.
Right. That's a great point. Is like, I mean, I care obviously about getting more women in sales, but like, I also care about just exposing more women to the world of tech and software and startups, because I agree with you. The opportunity at a startup or a startup-y type feel of a company, like for example, like HubSpot's thousands of employees now. When I started there, we were like less than 100. So, but I still feel like I work at a startup, even though it's not, but it has the mentality that's not corporate. It's not like no one's going to take your opinion. People want your opinion. People ask for your opinion. People, you know, make changes based on things you do. And I think that does not happen in corporate America. And that's why I'm so passionate. I don't think I'll ever, in general, work for a like corporate company. Like I will always work at startups. So I agree with you. I wish I always tell the ladies that are like 22 or 23 coming right out of college, I'm like, you are so lucky and so smart to get into this early, because holy cow, you're only going to get there faster. And like, it gives me chills, because I like wish I had started right out of college. It's fine either way, but I think, and also I think for those people listening who are like, God, I want to make the switch from corporate to like smaller company or startup,
Oh my gosh, I want to scream, do it,
Me
because
too.
the things that I've learned in this period of time of me being in like the startup world is so much more. And for someone new coming out of college, for a woman who, you know, was kind of trying to find her path, I think what I was looking for was structure, which I
Yep.
get that, I understand, but I think also exposing yourself. So if you go into sales, into a startup, you can also expose yourself to other aspects of the business and be able to say, okay, do I want to work in marketing?
Sure.
It's just like, you know, what infuriates me is we're making women at age 18 decide what their destiny is by choosing their program in school, right? You don't really know. So
no, you have no clue.
You have no clue. So I think coming out of college, same goes. You don't really know what area of a business you want to work in. So getting into a startup, even if it's in a sales capacity,
Right, I agree.
You can learn so much. So I think that's really important. And, you know, I wish I had gotten to sales straight out of college. I would have made more money, but
right.
you
No, I
know,
agree with
looking
that.
forward.
I agree with that completely. I tell
Yeah,
everyone that's younger, like that I meet, I'm like, oh, you need to get into a startup or something like that, because the
absolutely.
opportunity to learn early on in your career is going to only just help you go faster
Yeah.
to get to where you want. So anyone out there considering going from a corporate, also, I was 25 when I got out of corporate America, which seems like
Yeah.
young now being 33, but like at the time I felt old. I felt like,
Mm.
oh shit, or I hope that's okay to say, like, oh shoot, like I'm this old lady coming in and there's all these like young people that just got out of college, and I felt like I was
Right.
like old. So I would say,
Yeah.
you know, even I've seen people older than that get into a BDR role and work their way up at HubSpot. I admire that, because you're making a decision to get into sales. So like, I think
Mm-hmm.
anyone who is like, maybe I would be good at sales, and you're thinking about these qualities that we talk about, you know,
Yeah.
that we think are important to sales, take the chance, like do it. Cause I don't know, you only live once. And I mean,
Yeah.
the benefits of being early on or whatever age you are, I think you should do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think even at age 25, I definitely felt old as well and felt like I was starting over again.
Yep, me
But it's
too.
really not that, because there's so many people of all ages who live in a sales exec or a sales rep role,
Right.
but your role could change over time. You could be selling a larger product with a larger ticket. You know, I recall one of my managers saying to me, like, yeah, you're intimidated by these lawyers who you're selling to, but at the end of the day, you probably with your commission make more than them, and you don't have as much schooling as them, and like, do not be intimidated.
That's so
And I
funny.
know that's terrible, but it really helped me to be like, you know what? Yeah, I have something. I know this product more than they do, and I'm just enlightening them.
Right.
That's all. So don't be
That's
intimidated by your client or your
That's a great
customer.
point, especially early on, like, or even whatever age. I don't care. Age, I guess, isn't a factor, but the more you sell, the more you become more confident, I guess, is my point. So when you're
Yeah.
younger, you tend to not be as confident in like your skills. And also, like,
Yes.
someone you might be talking to is like 40 or 50 or 60, and you're like 20 something. So you're like,
And you're intimidated.
you're like,
Yes.
wait, am I okay? Like, is this okay? But like, you just have to tell yourself, like, hey, I actually know what I'm talking about, and I have something of value. And the reason I'm here is because I know what I'm doing.
Totally. And I think that kind of goes along with any age that you're dealing with, but especially when you're younger, I think you're just,
Yeah, it's hard.
and that can discourage you from staying
Yep,
in sales, because
I
when your
agree.
confidence is low, you won't do as well. You
Right.
just won't. You won't.
No.
If you don't sound confident over the phone, if you don't look confident face to face, like, that's going to kill you. So I think it's so important, even if we have to kind of trick ourselves
Yeah.
to say, you know, I really know this product better than the person that I'm selling to, and all I want to do is give them the knowledge that I have and share that with them and show them how this may help them, and that's how I get the sale.
Right. And then it's up to them from there. It's like you can only do your best. Like, you just have to provide value at all times. And like, if you're doing that, then you should end up either getting a sale that you should get or not. And or
Yeah,
not is also okay.
so true.
Well, is there anything else you want to discuss? I really appreciate your time. I hope people found this interesting, but I don't know if there's anything else. Yeah, I think they will.
No,
I think
I
you
don't
have
have
great
anything
advice.
else.
What would you
thank
say?
you for doing
What would
this.
you say to someone considering, maybe moving from like sole contributor role to a manager role? Like, what would you say, like, best advice or tip?
I would say make sure that you're not going into the role ready to make everyone the same as you.
Okay.
Go into the role adjusting to different personalities, different learning types, different career aspirations. Really knowing your representatives is the most important thing, and that's what's going to make you successful. It's not just creating a bunch of yous,
Little
right?
yous, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's what we go into as a top performer. I was like, okay, I'm just going to make them the same as me and get them to say the same things. And then I would tell them to say something and it would sound completely different, right? So allowing them to add their personality and flair, but teaching them the basics, I think, is most important. And adjusting your teachings and I have one-to-ones with my reps and my team on a daily basis, and just being able to adjust to their learning style is really important.
And when do you think someone should get into management? Like, what would you give yourself advice on? Like, looking back, like, I think it's hard to decide or say, like, I'm ready for this. Like, how does someone know when they're ready?
Only even consider it when you've mastered the role that you're in. Do not move from a role, an individual contributor role, to a management role if you have not yet mastered and where you really feel like you've done it all. Don't do that, because you're going to be in over your head, I think. So that's really important. And I don't think there's like any year or date timeline that you need to set. It's a feeling, and it's where you think that, okay, I can actually go and be more impactful if I'm leading a team.
Yeah, I agree. I love that. I think that's such a great point. And I think people always have a question of, when am I ready? When do I do this? So that's really good insight. Like, get really good at what you do, and then work on that. Cool. Well, I really appreciate your time, and I hope everyone had a great time listening to this. Just to tell people, because I think people have questions about when we're releasing these. So I do multiple interviews a week, but I'm saving them for one a week. So we'll have one podcast released each week with another woman in sales. So I just want everyone to know that. And if you want to be on the podcast or know a friend or a colleague that's in sales, please, just fill out the form that is on my website. But I hope to have more and more women learning about sales, more and more women connecting with each other on the Women in Sales Slack channel too. Hope to see more people on this podcast, and we really appreciate your time, and thank you for your insights, Tovah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.